Doctor Strange, the Eiffel Tower, and Montessori are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is May 6, 2022. It is the 126th day of the year. We got 239 days left in this year. It is the 18th Friday in the 19th week and the 48th day of spring. If today's your birthday, your birthstone's an emerald. Today is National Beverage Day. National Beverage Day encourages us to sit back, relax, and enjoy our favorite beverage. Beverages come in many forms. Some will wake you up like coffee or whatever. Some will slow you down like a gin and tonic. Others, like beer, will make you better at bowling and darts. They also come in different forms. Some are freshly squeezed, some are frozen, some are blended, some are creamy. They have different flavors. Sweet, sour, bitter, smooth, dry. I don't know how you get a dry drink, but it's weird. Yeah, so enjoy a beverage. Actually, I'll stop right here and wait a second while you go get one. About 6 in the morning when this gets posted, so I'm hoping you get some coffee. All right, let's see what else May 6 has given us. 1682, Louis XIV of France moves his court to the Palace of Versailles. 1757, English poet Christopher Smart is admitted into St. Luke's Hospital for lunatics in London, beginning his 6-year confinement in a mental asylum. Lunatics. The word lunatics is a very interesting word. It actually comes from a Latin term. Back in the day, they thought that people that, I don't know, maybe that were bipolar or something like that, that they were affected by the moon. So different phases of the moon affected them differently. That's how they came up with the word lunatic. 1835, James Gordon Bennett Sr. publishes the first issue of the New York Herald. 1840, the penny black postage stamp becomes valid for use in the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. 1877, we just talked about this yesterday. Chief Crazy Horse of the Lakota surrender to the United States troops in Nebraska. Sadly, he only lasted another 4 months. After the surrender, they were kept under guard, then eventually they were moved to division headquarters, where he was taken to a guard shack that he was supposed to be kept in. For some reason, him and some other scouts that were with him decided to try and escape. As they tried to escape outside the guard shack, one of the guards bayoneted him, and he died later that night on September 5th, 1877. Of course, like everything, there's controversy and conspiracies, and some say that they just stabbed him when he got inside the guardhouse and there was no attempt to escape. You're always going to have a conspiracy no matter what. These days, they're just getting more and more common. Crazy Horse was a little strange for a warrior or, a guy that led a band of warriors. Crazy Horse was known to have a personality characterized by aloofness, shyness, modesty, and lonesomeness. He was also known as a very generous man, especially to people that were poor and elderly and children. Now, what's strange about him, everyone liked him, and he was known for making jokes at inappropriate times. Well, maybe not inappropriate, but when you wouldn't be expecting it. So he'd make jokes, but he would never sing or dance like many of the other people in his tribes or his communities, and he was known for just being kind of shy when it came to group settings, unless he was out trying to kill people or defend his land, things of that nature. There was a book called Black Elk Speaks. It was done in 1932, and it was a book written on interviews and conversations with a medicine man named Black Elk, who knew him, and he was one of the Lakota people. In the book, Black Elk said of him, and I quote, "He was a queer man who would go into a village without noticing people or saying anything. In his own teepee, he would joke, and when he was on the warpath with a small party, he would make jokes and make the warriors feel good. But around the village, he hardly ever noticed anybody except the children. He'd play with them. All the Lakotas liked to dance and sing, but he never joined in on the dance, and nobody ever heard him sing. But everybody liked him, and they would do anything he wanted, go anywhere he said." Very unusual leader, in my opinion. 1882, the United States Congress passes the Chinese Exclusion Act. This act was, by today's standards is very controversial and there's no way it would go down, but it suspended Chinese immigration in the United States for 10 years. And declared Chinese immigrants ineligible for naturalization. One of the biggest problems with this is the Chinese workers were coming over and they were working for next to nothing, which was lowering wages, and a lot of the citizens didn't like that. 1889, the Eiffel Tower is officially open to the public. 1941, at California's March Field, Bob Hope performs his first USO show. Bob Hope was such a good man, so funny, so talented, and then he just did these for years. He did them from 1941 to 1991. Well, the last tour started in 1990 but ended in 91. He did 57 of these tours in total. Such a nice man. I never met him personally, but I've heard radio interviews and I've seen him on different interviews. He just seems like such a decent person, and you never really hear bad things about him. Sure, he passed away many years ago, but all these old stars, you found out horrible things after they died. Not Bob Hope. I mean, other than the fact that he may have had a couple girlfriends, but nothing's confirmed. 1997, the Bank of England is given independence from political control, the most significant change in the bank's 300-year history. Russia is not doing good in the whole Ukraine thing. I mean, they couldn't take Kyiv, which everybody knows, and that was a black eye to Vladimir Putin and pretty much the Russian military. They've kind of started focus things on the south and the Donbass area and Mariupol and all that other stuff. Well, Vladimir Putin's moved most of his troops down there, and they're trying to make this big push in the east. It's more of the same. Their tanks are just getting blown up. It's not unusual in a big combat thing like this to see a tank do what they call a jack in the box, where the turret pops off it because there was an internal explosion. That usually happens when ammunition gets ignited inside the tank and it blows everything up, kills everyone inside, blows the turret off. Well, almost every single one of these tanks getting hit, that's what's happening. There's a serious design flaw in Russian tanks that they need to address before they keep losing more men and more tanks. I think this is another good lesson for superpowers. I mean, it doesn't go well when you attack a country, try and invade or whatever, and the populace is motivated to kick you out of their country. Look at Vietnam. Look what happened to us. You had a motivated population that had guns, and you had a bunch of American soldiers that weren't too keen on being there. Same thing happened in Afghanistan with both the Russians and the United States, and then in Iraq. It's just going to keep getting worse for Russia in Ukraine. You have a motivated population and incredibly cheap and powerful weapon systems to defend themselves. I'll give you an example. A Russian infantry fighting vehicle, they've had BMP-1s, too, and I think they're on number 3 right now. Those things cost around $800,000 to $1 million a piece. Back when I was in the military, we had a thing called an AT-4. Those things average around $1,500. If you use 2 on a BMP, I'd be shocked because they're pretty accurate, and that's not a very good trade-off. Let's go with the more expensive one, the Javelin. That's about $80,000 to $100,000. You're still getting a really good trade-off. So basically, Russia's bleeding money right now. Movies released on May 6th. Today, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. That's a really bad name, and I don't like it, but Doctor Strange is a good character for Marvel, and this is going to be a very successful movie, I guarantee. It looks very, very interesting. I'm going to be watching it tomorrow. This is a sequel to the 2016 movie, Doctor Strange, and it all has to do with the Avengers Endgame and all that stuff. You know, growing up loving Marvel comics and stuff like that, I was never into Doctor Strange, and now that they made the movies, I kind of appreciate him a little bit more, and I kind of like the character. Born on May 6, 1985, Chris Paul. He's a star NBA point guard and 2006 Rookie of the Year who has a nickname CP3. He was actually traded to the Lakers in December of 2011, but David Stern vetoed the trade, thus shattering fans' hopes of seeing him team up with Kobe Bryant, who was still playing at the time. Died on May 6th. 1952, Maria Montessori. She's an educational pioneer who created the Montessori method based on her belief that children are natural learners. She attended medical school at the University of Rome and worked with mentally disabled children while conducting research through the university's psychiatric clinic. Her Montessori method implements mixed-age classrooms that allow children choice and freedom. Basically, it's a hippie way of doing things. That's what one of the dads said at one of my kids' school. He goes, I took my kid to the Montessori thing. That's just a hippie way of teaching. I thought it was funny. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a productive day, and be nice to each other.